lineup is interesting, right? He's got Midsword, Daria, and Control Blood. It's not like it's not an all-control lineup. It's not an all-aggro lineup. He just really understands his format and what he wants to do in it, and I think that gives him an edge. I feel like if he can bring 3 decks that you can actually target in a format like this and still not lose a single match on the day, that you really just know what you're doing right now. You know what I mean? And it looks like, yeah, neither of the Daria decks got banned. They did actually ban the Blood decks. Envy, Praise, she likes it. I know she likes it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's feeling pretty proud of herself right now.
So neither of them wanted to go up against the big boogeyman, which is Control Blood, so now we're just going to see Sword and Daria mirrors.
All right. Just a mirror on the wall.
And I think that the person who gets to play their Daria, well, I don't know. You know, I think Daria is just really good.
Pretty big. And the extra evolution could be pretty big too.
Yeah. I think that's exactly why they're playing the Daria deck first, is because if you have to play your Swordcraft deck against the Daria deck, you're probably going to lose. And I don't think you want that. So, yeah. It's going to be rough. It's really just going to come down to mirrors. That's it. It's who can win the mirrors.
Now, no Daria in hand for TEJJY. 2 Darias in hand for SKYSAMA. But this could turn on its head still, I feel like.
Yeah, generally speaking, in the Daria matchup, the person who does Daria the most and the fastest can win pretty easily, especially if you Daria and your opponent doesn't, period. It's kind of just over at that point.
Yeah.
Now, in saying that, if both players do Daria in relatively the same fashion, the person who Daria's second has a slight advantage because they get to Evo over the board.
Yeah.
But it's very slight.
The interesting thing here for me is that if TEJJY pulls a Daria and is able to spell boost it significantly within the next, few turns, okay, so he does actually pull it. This could be a situation where he kind of scrambles and uses his resources alongside his Chimera, right, in the Blade Mage and the like, to kind of just fight against that. And because SKYSAMA has 2 Darias in hand, he might not actually hit the 3rd one, and that might lose him a lot of tempo, because then TEJJY's Daria comes in and you have no way to respond.
That's very true. That's very true. And it's interesting that he chose to use the Mysterian instead of the Piercing Rune there, even though it dealt enough damage. Saving the missile for something that could have been bigger, maybe after an Evolve, would have made more sense to me. I'm not really sure why he chose to unload the bigger removal spell first. Might not really matter, come down to it, but just an interesting choice.
Chooses to Evolve. So he has a Daria at 2 play points and 4 play points here.
Okay, and decides to, pre-Evo. Like, this is, again, it's risking a threat and an Evolution Orb for possibly no value. I find it very interesting, this line of play from TEJJY.
SKYSAMA, I think, would very much like to evolve the Magic Owl. That lets him play the Ogler, play the Chimera, and then play his lower-cost Daria.
And yeah, basically just wipe out the advantage of an Evolve Orb from TEJJY here. And TEJJY's on the play. He doesn't have as many Evolution Orbs to work with. So wasting one cannot feel good.
And there's a big board, too, for SKYSAMA. And big board's kind of Daria boost, right, is huge because the Daria can come in.
And it might even be that he draws something to actually kill this Ogler without the Owl having to run into it.
It's another Ogler.
And does get another Ogler. Almost there. Does get the 1 Angelic Snipe, but not enough to quite take out that Ogler. So probably will run the Owl in.
Yeah.
And then can finish out with an Ogler plus an Insight plus a Mysterian Knowledge. Like, this is a really good turn.
Mysterian Knowledge is it. Trades the Owl. I think you may as well play the Ogler, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no reason not to. Always fill up that board. Does not have a Daria redraw. So it could potentially go that TEJJY does get a better redraw. However, his turn leading up to it, I don't think is going to be enough to stop this entire board.
So the question here is, what is the best way for you to clear this board and set up your next Daria play, right? And this is a scenario I'm talking about. If your Daria didn't hit something that can redraw a big board swing again, and this TEJJY somehow is able to struggle through in combination with his spells, his Chimera, and his evolution orbs,
Mm-hmm.
then I think SKYSAMA could be kind of dumping all his resources into a losing situation.
And I think he might even just play the super passive role this turn and just go Chimera crazy as much as he can anyway. But out of evolution orbs now.
Nice. He makes it so that the angelic snipe is not an immediate answer.
Mm-hmm. Does accept more damage. Already knew about the Mysterian Missile, though. So very interesting to me, again, not to trade with the Daria there to wipe off more damage from play. I think
that could be a big mistake.
I think this game's just over. I think the Golem Assaults are going to provide enough defense to let these threats just keep pushing face. I think you evolve the Ogler here, and I think you push face with both, play the Ward, then you've got 2 Angelic Snipes to fall back on next turn. I think this is, this is over.
Tough spot.
Yep.
He chooses Daria for the evolve target.
Don't mind it, because Ogler still does get chomped up by a Chimera. This is a fine play as well. Yeah, I think the tempo is just too much for SKYSAMA here.
Yeah. I don't know what you pull. You don't have evolution orbs either.
This is like
a pretty good hand.
Amazing redraw, but again, in this position, it's just not enough.
Yep. TEJJY has a tap out here.
He does a little fake cry after a big yawn and stretch, and oh my god.
I think that's really kind of showing you the effects of not really having your Daria quite early enough. I feel like even one turn earlier, if you had pulled the Daria one turn earlier, it would have been a much different game.
I also think, now that I think about how this matchup is shaking down, I feel like if I'm the losing player in this first round, if the bracket does get reset, if I'm TEJJY, that's the only way it can happen, I've got to rethink my strategy, because in this manner, it really is just going to come down to the mirrors. The reason I say that is they play Daria mirror first. Winner gets their Daria deck taken out. Second match is Daria versus Sword. Daria is probably going to win that matchup. And then you're Sword versus Sword. So essentially you're just playing 2 mirror matchups, and the person who wins both the mirror matchups win. Do you really want to be put in that spot, or do you want to give yourself a different edge and maybe switch things up next time to kind of mess with your opponent? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's definitely a consideration. TEJJY keeps a lot. He kept a lot of that cards in Mulligan.
Yeah. He likes them. Drew an Insight. Pretty good here.
Interesting.
Going with the possible creature instead, gets it as well.
Gonna get the Clay Golem off of that. Meanwhile, SKYSAMA playing on the draw might actually hurt him.
I'm also not too sure as to why he was looking for this, because this was the play. He was looking for the 2/2 with Ward, but against Swordcraft, they have the Kahulans, they have the things that knock that down. So why that instead of rushing for your Daria, I don't know. I feel like not playing a very straightforward Daria plan, like we would expect.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's interesting, and really kind of throwing the Mysterian kind of knowledge out of your hand means that that's less spells to boost your Daria that will eventually come in, right?
Right, and I don't see a reason for the tempo push instead of going for the combo part of the game. It's not huge now because it wasn't dealt with. The Cahulan was not played to answer this. So now he can start drawing. He's got the Kaleidoscopic Glow, which will most certainly come out this turn.
Yep. Glow it back. And he needs to draw something.
Yeah, these are not going to be enough by themselves. He does have the Fate's Hand. If you don't have Daria, the next best thing is Fate's Hand, because it will get you some cards.
There finally is a Lancer.
What do you think about Pegasus, by the way? We haven't really talked about him very much.
Yeah, Perseus.
Or Perseus,
not
Pegasus.
I mean, he is very valuable, right? I think off the back of kind of Luminous Mage turns, he finds a second place to come in. He's very good in early turns, obviously.
Yep.
He's very efficient for the stat line he gets. And really, I think that's kind of the biggest reason why you play him.
Is there like any thought? I mean, I guess it is part of his kit where like when you pull him off of Arthur, you can evolve him to have an extra ward alongside of the Veteran Lancer. So that might be an option. It's just interesting. Like, we haven't seen it be necessarily bad. It's just, would that be better as some other card in the Swordcraft decks? Just an interesting thought.
Yeah. I think most of the time, one play point things are just often very valuable because it's very hard for them not to be valuable since they're so cheap, right?
Yeah.
Any benefit you get off of them is profit.
Just interesting for me to see that card instead of, say, something like Quick Blader. You can pull that off of Arthur alongside of Kahula and get 3 damage in that turn or get 1 damage face and trade. It also just deals a lot of damage over time, but just interesting that Quick Blader got replaced by Perseus.
Yeah. I would imagine it might just come with the style of the deck, right? They're looking to play a slightly slower pace. They're really looking at keeping followers on board turn after turn rather than having followers just crash into face and then get traded out.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, just like look at the difference in the decks, right? Like even though Swordcraft is technically ahead on board, when you just look at the options and what the decks can do, like what do you do against Daria's sword? You know what I mean? Like they just draw so many cards, they deal damage, they can deal with your boards. Even though Daria wasn't played like anytime soon, like Daria any turn is still huge.
And I think a lot of that is because SKYSAMA has to rely on an upper end that he doesn't play a lot of because he needs to make sure his early game is consistent, right?
Yeah, there aren't like old control sword cards in this, like the Bahamut's and things that we've seen a long time ago. Because like you said, you just can't afford it anymore. I remember the first time I saw a competitive control swordcraft deck win. It had 3 Odins and 3 Bahamut's in it. And everybody was like, what? And he's like, you got to do it, man. You got to have the Bahamut's, and you got to have the answers to the Bahamut's. It was like the pre-Scyther, like, dragon thinking, but like with against different swordcraft decks. It was interesting.
Laying the foundations of Bahamut Wars.
That's right. Oh, Bahamut.
All right, we're at play point 6, and I think TEJJY has gotten away with doing 5 damage to SKYSAMA, despite the fact that it felt like SKYSAMA has had board all game long.
That's absolutely right, but I feel like at any time TEJJY's just going to pull the trigger, and SKYSAMA's swordcraft deck's just going to fall over. Now, this Arthur can put some of the pieces back together if TEJJY takes too long. But we'll see. See how he decides to play this.
3 play points on Daria, and we talked about this with Dimension Shift, right? Sometimes you don't find the Dimension Shift for so long, but as your play points get higher, you spell boost insanely quick. I mean, that Daria is already down to 1.
Decides to save the cards in deck. I like it, instead of playing the Insight.
Oh, drops another one.
Finds it. And an Enchanted Sword and a Chimera. And again, just like, yeah, what do you do as a Swordcraft player? My opponent's drawing a bunch of cards, filling up the board, dealing me consistent damage, and I'm over here with Perseus in my hand.
Yep. Has to play the Arthur for a swing, I suppose.
Yep, gotta do it.
Wow. That's a pretty good set.
I mean, it's pretty much the same, right? These are the only 2 drops in the deck, so it's guaranteed to pull these, right? I guess Perseus could be pulled as well. That's the only other wild card.
But I think he's already had all 3 of them in hand, right?
I think so.
It all ends here.
Now in rotation, I've been trying a deck that only plays aggressively minded cards that you can pull with it, like Quick Blader and things like that, and it feels really good. I'm interested to know why the Perseus. I guess Perseus, like you said, does get the Luminous Knight combo or Luminous Mage combo, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that is something to think about, right? Do you gain more advantage for having the extra ability to go face, or maybe even get that 1 damage ping?
I love face damage, man. Gotta do it every time. Face.
Yeah, and everything that is happening here is just allowing the next Daria to be boosted for even lower of a cost.
Yeah, these are just crazy turns. My goodness,
God.
yeah. There's only 7 cards left in the deck for TEJJY right now, so he's got pretty much all of the options he could ever possibly want. Probably won't need to play that next Daria.
Interesting. If he had put that Enchanted Plate on a Daria, he would have been able to get value off of it this turn.
It's true.
Still, an impossible board to deal with.
TEJJY with a thumbs up. But this is the way we expected it to go. At least I expected it to go. Daria beats Daria, and then Daria beats Sword, and now Sword versus Sword. Which Sword deck will come out on top? Honestly, I think TEJJY's Sword deck has some tech in it. You know what I mean? Like, it has just some cool stuff.
It has an edge.
I think it has an edge because it's not doing the most straightforward of things. It has answers to the wide paladin big board with, like, a confront adversity, right? It's got big answers to, like, board stalls with Walfred. It can just do things.
All right, trying to make something work here. I don't think he has the gas to do it.
I should have foreseen this.
Oh, with the taunt.
Wow, TEJJY is confident. He's
Yeah.
throwing the gauntlet down. He's only one win away from closing
That's
this
it.
out. SKYSAMA with an early start, but like you mentioned, the matchups are playing out the way that you would expect. So all down to this Swordcraft mirror. And both these players playing their Swordcraft decks, I think actually they were the only ones, right? To
If I remember correctly.
I know in the upper finals, when we looked over the decks, they were the only two with Swordcraft decks, but in the losers
So
end of the bracket.
Deviate had mid-sword as well.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Deviate was there.
Oh, that's right, because SKYSAMA actually came from the lower end of the bracket.
Yup.
Making it far. Swordcraft is looking great.
Yeah. Unlimited, I mean, like, how do you answer this many wards? I mean, when you're playing decks that need to break through them, right? I mean, Daria does it pretty well because it just goes way too big for Swordcraft. But outside of that, it's been looking really good.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of what we mentioned, right? When we compared Daria and Swordcraft. Swordcraft is this deck that can earlier and consistently give you a board that's very strong, whereas Daria gives this overwhelmingly strong board, but sometimes it doesn't happen.
Sometimes it happens later. Sometimes it doesn't happen the way you want it to. You're taking a gamble on what you redraw.
And when you're playing the same game strategy, right, in the Sword versus Daria Rune matchup, if Daria just does what you do but better, then that kind of shuts things out.
Absolutely. I'm thinking about this game in the back of my head. If this Perseus was a quick blader, and what the difference in this game would be. Just so much extra damage. I'm gonna stop talking about quick blader. I like it too much.
Yep. I mean, currently it's 1-up, right? This Perseus has been able to swing every turn except for the turn it was played, so
1-up. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about if SKYSAMA loses this game by 1 defense. That quick blader, my friends. Then again, if he was playing quick blader, he might not have gotten here, so we're going way ahead of ourselves. But in any case, I don't think this will be an Evo turn. Nope.
Double Veteran Lancer.
I miss this card too. Like, this card used to be everywhere, and then people just stopped playing it because Swordcraft, you know? But it's still really freaking good. Saving Evolution Orbs, like, it has the Crystallia Aaron effect, except it's so quick.
It's cheap. You can get it very early on the first turn that you evolve if you're going first, right? And its effect persists. I mean, you could potentially...
Yeah, which is crazy. Like, it's a force must answer. You have to deal with this card.
Yeah. Okay, the Roundtable Assembly is going to give the Mars a Tempest. The Lancer of the Tempest would have probably much preferred the Paladin.
Yep, this is fine too, though. Being able to clear the board and keep both of your threats, very good. Again, this is all about board control.
And using your resources smartly, I think, is a big one. And I almost think it's kind of like a little bit Take-Two-esque, right?
This is,
Where it's like you got to spend your health as a resource to make sure that you're the one that's left with the Evolution Orb that can kind of have the last laugh, right?
Absolutely right. And yeah, being on the play in these matchups just seems so awkward. Like, I feel like the person that's been on the draw and had extra Evolution Orbs has always been in the advantageous spot in these games.
I would agree.
Everybody out there is like, you got to go first at Unlimited to win. I don't think so. I think if you play the format correctly and you know, make sure that you're not playing against the decks that can just outright beat you on the play, that having the extra Evolution Orbs, they just give you so much breathing room.
Yeah.
Looking for the full Arthur board as usual.
Oh, man.
It's pretty good. And then we're going to look at another Arthur board, perhaps.
Yep, and they're just going to be fighting back and forth here.
Yeah.
When we think about the upper end, and that's where you were talking about something like the Walfred, right? For example, Walfred on this turn, SKYSAMA probably has to play to respect that.
That's true.
We know that TEJJY doesn't have it, but You can't just let a board of 2 damage followers get buffed.
Honestly, the first Arthur is better than the second one because it puts bigger stats in play than the one answering it can deal with, essentially, in a great way. So this might be a Lancer the Tempest turn. This could be a White Paladin turn. Yep. And this is really scary. If there is a Captain Walford in the hand of TEJJY, this board looks really scary.
Yeah, that Hedgehog is still pumping irons.
Yeah, that's what he does. Maybe a little misordering there as well. That's unfortunate. Misordering at this stage in the game is rough.
Yeah. Oh, let's go through that whole thing again.
However, SKYSAMA does have 2 Arthurs to back up this late game play.
And TEJJY's living off the top now.
Yes, he is. He does have board advantage pretty considerably.
I think it really comes down to a decision for how you are going to maintain your board and your biggest resource is your evolution orb here, right? Because once he loses this, it's going to be very hard for him living off the top to make things work.
Oh, and no Kahulin left. Or at least not one pulled off of this one.
Make sure to take care of the Bladed Hedgehog.
Yep, first this time.
Yep. Oh my god.
Albert's pretty good, but SKYSAMA's still at 20. Both players still at 20 for that matter.
And remember, this is what we're talking about, right? There's no more evolution orb on the side of SKYSAMA. So if this Albert comes out and evolves, it goes for board trading for free,
I think
right?
you just do it. I don't see why not. Like, the board trade's pretty free here. Like, you get to take out the Arthur, you get to take out the Bladed Hedgehog. You actually get to take out this entire board.
And then you have to deal with an Albert with 7 defense and double strike.
Yeah.
With no evolution orbs on your hand.
Yeah. Yeah. That's rough. I don't see a better play for TEJJY here. TEJJY might just run away because he's the only person to draw an Albert.
Oh my gosh.
And forget what I said about the extra evolution orb. First Arthur felt so good this game.
Yeah.
So good.
It really, really did. The
SKYSAMA having 2 Arthurs, but the first Arthur being the most important.
I mean, it just comes down to feeling compelled to evolve the Arthur over the Bladed Hedgehog, right? You can definitely understand that feeling. But now you have no way to respond to this.
He drew the Lancer. What a master.
Jeez. The game is going to continue.
Yep.
And now both of these players are kind of looking for any kind of resource. How many more cards is that Arthur going to pull?
Right?
I feel like everything's just gone. Now the Mars is there to really help it.
I've poofed on an Arthur before, and it does not feel good. You just play it, and it just goes... Like, you hear the stampeding, and then just nothing comes. You're just like, my army! Deserters! All of you! It's because they're all dead. I've sent them off to war, and they all died, and then I didn't have any friends left.
Yeah, definitely want to take down the Mars here, because that Arthur in combination with the Mars would be far too powerful.
Yeah, but now it's just... I mean, SKYSAMA's out of gas. He's got the Arthur, but what is it going to pull? He's got 2 Arthurs now.
No! There's no way he has enough low drops.
Oh, he does!
Oh my god.
He's got plenty, apparently.
He can't take down the Mars, though, and that actually might be the nail in the coffin in many ways. It might just give too much value over the next few turns.
Maybe just too many Arthurs.
Oh
my
God.
goodness.
Are you kidding
this
me?
is the first time I've ever seen a sword player actually just not have all Alberts.
Because of the Mars, too.
That's true.
Albert's going to get bumped up for every single combat interaction.
And I feel like if he just keeps playing defensively, he's got the edge, right? If he just keeps the board clean, he just doesn't have to worry about anything. Like, we saw SKYSAMA have to get lucky to top deck the way to kill Albert last time. Can he do it again?
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, Albert's just building up big enough to actually just win the game on its own pretty soon here. This is it.
Albert off the top for SKYSAMA here. He's got 5, so he can't get rid of the Albert. Actually, he can wipe the board.
Good. The top decks are real. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And he's got another Arthur to back up.
Does he have more cards that it can draw?
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
All right. All right. The fair piddling offerings of TEJJY here.
TEJJY, remember, he's only 1 game away from closing this out. If he loses his SKYSAMA, everything is
And he gets
reset.
the Mars before the Arthur.
God. Oh, no.
What has he got left?
The Night King.
He only has 1
he just
hedgehog
gets
left.
Dude. Oh, no.
This is a duke out. This is about as slobber-knockery as it gets.
Oh my gosh. Oh, are you kidding? I think he could go over with the headshot.
SKYSAMA, stop it. Okay? Stop it.
Oh, no.
This is not okay, what you're doing to TEJJY right now.
Oh, no.
It's not okay.
So there's one more Albert, right, if he plays a 3-0.
It's true. It's true. SKYSAMA hasn't played any Alberts yet.
Yep. Oh,
and he's got a huge board.
That's not going to pull
I don't
anything.
think
There's no way.
Not anything good, anyway. That's
well,
fine.
that would have been nice with an evolution orb.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Okay, SKYSAMA.
Oh,
okay.
Gosh.
All right. Well, it looks like the bracket will be getting reset here.
Yeah.
I don't really see, after all of this, SKYSAMA losing after this advantage.
Yeah. And to be fair, I mean, we talk about having these off the top, but at this stage in the game, with so few cards left, the options are the ones that they didn't get access to early on, right?
Oh
my God!
That's pretty good. Right now, never mind. Okay, game's still live.
There it is. There it is.
The Albert finally drawn.
So 9 damage here. Oh my God.
An Albert drawn will not save TEJJY here.
There's no way. Front guard?
No, there's no front guard in this one.
Yeah, it was front guard SKYSAMA's. Oh man,
that game.
That is exhausting.
That is super exhausting. That's sword mirrors for you. So that's what I'm talking about, right? So does TEJJY want to do this same thing again? Does he want to just play mirror match, leave it up to chance? Does he want to just try to throw a curveball and ban something different and hope to get like a different deck archetype matchup? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
it's tough.
And I mean, SKYSAMA has to be thinking about that too. Envy, when we kind of look at how these matchups played out, is there a world where you take the chance and let Control Blood through?
No.
I kind of
because Control Blood, it's really simple though, because Control Blood beats. You saw how that last game went. Sword's a toss up, right? Like either one of you is gonna win eventually, but it's mostly just like, you know, who controls the board longest and who doesn't just top deck the best thing every turn. Daria is similar to the same way, but Control Blood just beats both of your decks. You have to ban it.
That's
you can't not ban Control Blood there.
That's fair.
Yeah, and especially if, again, that situation that Envy mentioned, if you don't ban Control Blood, then they do. Now you're feeling pretty sad.
Yeah, that's fair.
Feeling pretty sad.
That's fair.
Wow.
So that taken into consideration, I think this matchups is about a 50-50 as it gets. They're playing the same decks, you know, with a little bit different end games. It's really just going to come down to who draws better in the late game with the sword deck. I think that's the biggest one. I think Daria is just going to do its own thing, and then it's going to come down to sword versus sword.
If there ever is a world where Daria wins against sword.
What do you mean? We live in that world. You mean if sword beats Daria?
Daria,
if we live in that world, then it's just over. If the sword deck beats
be honest,
the opposing Daria deck.
Daria's gonna win. It doesn't matter what Daria is against, right?
Yeah.
Either Daria's gonna beat Daria and then beat sword. It's gonna happen. So it comes down to the sword mirror. It comes down to, it's not even about whether you draw Alberts or not. We saw TEJJY get Alberts. It's literally about board control the whole time. Like as long as you can keep the board going, you win.
It never stops.
It never stops. All right. Well, we're gonna jump into the final match of the day. The reset happened, and I think the
the curse is
the
alive.
destiny is playing out, as it were. You know,
Yeah.
The losers bracket, the rise of the champion.
Yep.
Is this scripted? Hello?
I mean, do we pay all these players in our top 8 to do the things that we tell them to do? Maybe, but no, we don't do that.
Yeah, we pay them vials.
Those sweet, sweet vials. Hey, take a dive. We got those vials.
Jesus. We don't do anything of the sort.
No,
we only have bubblegum in our pockets. That's all we can pay people.
That's fair. Yeah.
Bubblegum.
Bubblegum's good though.
I haven't chewed bubblegum for a very, very long time.
Well, then you just lied.
Yeah.
Unless you just keep it in your pocket and don't chew it. Yeah. You weirdo.
Yeah. Hey, I only distribute. I don't actually consume.
All right. Anyway, illicit gum crimes aside, Daria versus Daria. We've got Daria in one side, and TEJJY yet to mull. Hopefully for his Daria of his own. Again, Fate's Hand is a card that we've seen have without Daria in hand and still be able to get you there. I think Fate's Hand is the only other card you want to keep.
Throw it all away. Throw it all away. Yes, yes. No, no.
Keep Ogler, throw back Fate's Hand. That is an interesting play against the mirror.
I guess he wants some opportunity to just play something and boost something.
Being on the play, it makes a little sense because Ogler on the play is a little bit better than Ogler on the draw. However, throwing away the Fate's Hand and keeping an Ogler in a Daria matchup where you could either not redraw a Fate's Hand or a Daria means you're trying to pin your hopes on an Ogler? Like, I don't know about all that business. I don't like it. But he still got lucky, got his Fate's Hand back, so that's okay. And, of course, SKYSAMA being SKYSAMA with his draws
sniping.
today.
Yeah.
Has the Daria immediately.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
All right.
There it is. So the game is afoot.
That's right. And TEJJY might actually get his Daria off first this time, which bodes well for him.
Glow to put back the Golem, and it is not a Conjure Golem anymore, so it doesn't boost.
That's right. That's like the worst feeling when you get your Golem bounce and you didn't do it yourself for like advantage. You're just like, man, I never want to play this again.
Yeah. I never want to see you ever again. All right. The owl came just in time.
Owl's good. And honestly, this hand is a throwaway hand. So get your Ogler out there. I don't see any reason not to play it this turn. A 3-3 and a 3-4 is very hard to get through.
This was the pinnacle of his mulligan.
The pinnacle.
Yeah. This was what it was all for. It might pay off. I mean, what is this?
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that it won't pay off. And it might be that his play is like the best possible play to do on the play as Daria versus Daria, and I have no idea, but it just doesn't feel right.
He gets the damage.
Yeah.
He gets the damage here.
However, does he want to get that? I mean, yeah, he can do it all. He can do it all. Is he going to owl into? Okay.
Go for the owl.
Not sure why owl into Daria instead of just Daria.
Yeah. Gets another
an
Ogler.
Perfect.
This is about how big of a swing SKYSAMA will have here on his Daria turn. He's got 2 Piercing Runes and a low-ish cost Blade Mage. Gonna go down to 2, I believe. Yep. 2 cost Blade Mage. Gonna throw it all away. Oh my god.
Got to. You got to match pace, unfortunately. Gets an Ogler. Okay.
Yep.
Both
and
players
Chimera.
getting there.
2 Chimeras that got boosted. I think that might be the big thing here. Plus the double spells. He evolves one that's going to put his Piercing Rune to 2. He's going to be able to construct, especially if he gets any other spells to accompany this. He's going to get a huge swing turn, and both of them did not hit a second Daria. That Chimera could just be the last play that happens, right?
Yep. And then my favorite card ever coming down to just show why he's insane.
Yeah, a lot of face damage coming down here. The Piercing Rune can go into the Daria. The trade can go for value.
Have you ever heard the Japanese voice line for Time Worn Mage Levi?
Yes, he is very old.
It's hilarious. Like, I didn't know what it actually said at first. It was just like, he was like, oh, you know, he just chatters on for like 2 minutes. He doesn't stop.
He never stops.
He never stops talking.
He never stops living.
I think it's hilarious. Also, Clay Golem in Japanese, way cooler. Way scarier.
Yeah?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I like the Clay Golem in the English voices.
Makes a big growl noise.
Right. His Chimeras are at 1.
And this is going to be a really close game. So, you know, SKYSAMA already knows about the Crimson Sorcery. We can see the Magic Missile. That's already 4 damage of the 7 defense that SKYSAMA has left. Only needs to find 3 more. But because he uses... okay. That's a good one. All right. I was going to say, because he uses Evolution Orb a little hastily, I want to say, with that first Magic Owl, and not saving it for possibly another Levi, he can technically get starved out of this game if he doesn't draw any more burn spells, but that Piercing Rune puts him that much closer.
He's thinking really hard. I mean, if you go full face right now, you don't save yourself much room to... I mean, you're taking 6 on the Chimera, plus whatever else happens to be in SKYSAMA's hand. We know that there's a Blade Mage at least. But he could Magic Missile to something else. Oh my god.
Just putting him to 1. I like it. That's the what's up play.
Yeah.
What you got?
He's laying it out all on the line here.
And there's not really a big way for SKYSAMA to close the gap that fast, so I really like the play. I mean, it does kind of leave everything in the hands of SKYSAMA, though. TEJJY's just like, I'm going to live off the top. Technically, he does have the play of Golem Assault into Ward, but it's not going to matter against a board like this.
Oh my gosh. Well, you have one draw chance, possibly multiple if you draw into draw, but...
Dun da da da, and
okay.
bloop bloop.
Does a Golem Assault save you? I don't think so. 2
no.
wards.
No, it does not. Wow. TEJJY looking like just guns ablaze in this game, but the cool and measured approach.
He really went all in, right? He had the choice to remove the Chimera, but
yeah,
he chose
he had the choice to remove the Chimera. He had the choice to not waste an Evolution Orb on a Magical. I literally have no idea why he did that. The mulligan will pass because the mulligan turned out fine for him. But yeah, just a measured approach from SKYSAMA. He's like, you know, I'm just going to play my game. Cool, even-tempered head, and just, you know, get there. Get there anyway. And I think this puts him in a good position again because now he does get that random spike chance to beat the Daria deck with his Swordcraft deck.
Yeah. So now we're into this game here where if things are going as you predict, this is going to be TEJJY beating out SKYSAMA and pulling it to the Sword Mirror.
Yep. Like, I think the best way for Swordcraft to actually beat Daria, talking about the matchup, is doing the same thing that we saw the Swordcraft deck do against the Control Blood deck. Just win. Win by turn 5 or 6, like, immediately. Just get there, get a good curve, push it, evolve face. You know, don't play for some weird endgame that you think you might win, because Daria's going to out-endgame you every single time. I think you just have to try to win as fast as possible.
Well, didn't have a turn 1 play and is also on the draw, so it's going to be hard to imagine a scenario where you're rushing down your opponent.
And Daria already in the hand for TEJJY.
Now he gets it.
Sad. It's a sad, sad day. Now he's probably deciding between if he wants to Shield of Flame and play the Hedgehog to then start building. I think against Daria, just like any hyper-aggressive deck, you just get rid of as much damage as early and as often as possible as you can if you're not trying to race them.
Plays another Golem, and everything's being boosted now.
Here's another question. Golem or Golem? What do you think?
Well, the Clay Golem goes, oh, so I would imagine it's Golem.
Do you think that's because of what he says? Yeah?
Yeah.
You touch him in the belly, he goes, oh, so his name must be Golem.
Yep.
Okay, got it. Perfect.
Golem.
You know what? That's good logic. I can't fault you. I can't fault you for that.
The Mars just thrown to the wayside here. Unfortunate, I feel like, for SKYSAMA, but...
Yep. And honestly, like, it's just like the options, again, what we talk about, like card draw and board fill versus some followers. You know what I mean? That can board fill. It just feels like it's a neutered version of a similar style of deck. They're both trying to produce big boards. One of them just does it a little bit better. Perfect draw. With this type of a hand, I mean, you might just go all in with the Daria. You might just go all in with all the Fate's hand and suck up as much value as you can, but that's risky.
Yeah.
Or you can just do it all.
Fate's hand. At this point, just Fate's hand again.
That Ogler. Every time you see an Ogler right before you play Daria, it feels so bad. You're just like, why? Why did I do that?
Just, yeah, at this point, just commit. Don't admit to the situation.
Right.
Just keep going.
It's not a bad plan anyways. He can still Daria if he wants. Doesn't even need to at this point. I probably still would. Yeah. I probably would have played the Angelic Snipe, though. Not sure why. It's kind of a free Angelic Snipe.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, if one damage is a difference maker here.
Yeah, TEJJY does little odd things with his Daria deck, you know what I mean? Like, yes, it's got high power level, and it kind of, like, hides a lot of those things, but those little increments matter a lot when you're playing against a very skilled opponent like SKYSAMA. We noticed just, like, the one misplay of an Evo the previous game was enough to throw him on way. Like,
ended up toppling him over. And now SKYSAMA has to consider his turn here. The options in hand, I think the Lux will be good to get him more. But it's kind of... It's in a strange spot, right? I think Geno. Now, the only thing here is you miss out on the opportunity to use your Mars in combination with this, but maybe at this point it's just
I think he's just
damage
scared.
control.
I don't mind this. Yeah, damage control. I don't mind this play at all. This basically says you have to have the snipes and everything just to get past me. I like this a lot.
And the Lux is going to pull one more here.
Ooh, okay. Second Kaleidoscopic Glow, pretty nice against these wards. And the Magic Missile found every option. So just Glow, Glow, Smash Face. Feel like easy rest of this turn.
Yeah, he's boosting a ton.
Yeah, I don't like using the Magic Missiles to kill the followers because I don't believe the followers come back into play with ward. So bouncing them is a little bit better than saving the Magic Missiles for face damage. And now... Okay, gonna play the Chimera, I see.
This opens up Daria to swing.
Yep.
And I think he's slowly kind of losing grip.
Yeah, it's just tough. Now, there is no redraw potential at the moment for TEJJY. What I mean by that is there's no Daria in hand. So if this board is dealt with, the biggest threat outside, again, is just a Chimera with a Guardian Golem. And I feel like Sword can fight through that, but needs to get through this board first. Options available are, of course, the Luminous Mage, the Geno. Can't even frontline this turn.
Awkward. It seems kind of awkward. You're not able to clear both followers, are you?
You can't do both, unfortunately. That's the problem with the Daria followers. They're just a little too big. I'm just trying to think. So, yeah, even if you run Geno in, and, yeah, there's no way. I think Frontline Cavalier is the best. It gives you some of your defense back. You get to keep a follower in play and get to fill up the entire board, which means that next turn it'll be easier to deal with a fuller board.
There it is. We'll take down the Chimera, leaving the Daria in play. This gives TEJJY more opportunity.
Not finding anything huge here again. So to finish this game, it's going to be a little tough. However, this Daria does get to smash. Now the real question is, does the Daria go face? I think yes, it has to, right?
Yeah, I think you could... I mean, I suppose you don't really need to evolve now.
No, you don't need to evolve here. But this...
You're so far ahead.
Yeah, this turn, SKYSAMA will be able to turn the corner, and then it's really just up to these Chimeras to kind of finish up the job if they can. And that'll be that.
Yeah, still has an Evolution Orb, has a Piercing Rune in hand, which is going to be very big, I think, for TEJJY.
Using it.
Oh, wow, okay.
Basically saying, I don't think you can actually get over the 7/7. You have the 3 damage to take care of the ward, but I don't think you have 7 damage to take care of my Daria.
And he might be right. I mean, the 3 followers basically just have to go into the ward to even start working on the Daria. And what card off the initial evolve can even be strong enough?
Mars Geno can do it.
Oh, right, because Geno will... you don't need to play him for the enhanced cost.
Right.
It all ends here.
It's like going with the Perseus for the ward instead. This is a very risky play. This is saying that the ward is going to be the thing that's going to save you from the Daria smash.
Which is not going to happen because of the
not.
Piercing Rune.
Yeah, I don't like this play at all. Yeah.
There it is. So TEJJY, as predicted, is going to win this matchup into Sword. So we're going to go to the mirror match for the final game of the final match. SKYSAMA or TEJJY. You just give us a dab?
He did.
Is that the
He's
Sheepy
getting excited.
special?
This is we're going into the final game. The bracket has been reset. We're going into the Swordcraft mirror, as we talked about.
This is going to decide it all. We saw a crazy Swordcraft mirror last match, but it could just run away for one of these players here.
I mean, honestly, it didn't even look like anyone did anything special that game. It was just who had the last card in play, right? It was just who finally just drew the last
TEJJY
thing.
almost ran away with it, but the way that the deck had been playing out for SKYSAMA, I mean, he just didn't have a lot of the early game options. That's probably why it felt like TEJJY was in the advantage, right?
Well,
Because he just wasn't playing
I'm gonna
the swing
keep it
cards.
real right now, okay? SKYSAMA's been playing amazingly all day, so there's nothing against him. He top decked like a fool that game. Every
got a lot of
draw
options.
at the end of that game was absolutely absurd. Put him in exactly the position he needed to be in. But he's here. It's the finals. It's the last game. Again, I don't even think the early game matters too much because they both have ways to just basically fight back the board against each other.
Let's see what advantage he gains for being on the play point lead as well.
Yep. So last game, the person on the draw won. Or going second, rather.
Yeah.
So person going second won last time. I still think that you're still advantaged. I wanted to say a different word than that. It was like preventing me from doing it. Because of the evolution orbs, especially with things like White Paladin and Frontline Cavaliers and Alberts and things like that. But first Arthur feels really good. If SKYSAMA did not draw exceptionally well, the first Arthur would have been enough to topple him.
We'll see if that's the case here. Still has a few turns to draw it.
This is rough. Do you actually trade with the Lancer? Because it's the only thing that your 1/2s can actually kill on board. I think you do, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there is an option to kind of leave that in play and suck up one of the 1/2s and then just be able to finish it off a little bit differently and keep your frontline Cavalier a little bit healthier to make it harder to deal with. Like, imagine if this had 4 defense right now.
Yeah. What's interesting is there's a front guard general that we were talking about last game. TEJJY has it in hand this time.
That card could make a huge difference. That's another big thing that you have to basically just jam everything into, and then it comes back as a 2/3 ward as well.
Wherever you can make efficiencies, that's going to be your big win in this matchup.
Gone are the days of the big ambush followers, where you just basically just build up a whole big board and then just N Albert down with whatever they had left over just crushed you. Talking about you, Sabaki. I miss Sabaki. That's one of the cards I was talking about, of course, for the Dragon matchup, too, that actually helped Swordcraft beat Dragoncraft back in the day, was Sabaki.
Evolves a White Paladin to get more wards on the table.
I like this, and SKYSAMA just basically saying, what's up, I got the board. I already know that you used one of your White Paladins earlier, so unlikely that you would have another one immediately. And I like this. SKYSAMA actually has one of those boards that can run away with the game. He's going to get a lot of damage in early. He's got the backup with things like Alwita's Command and Geno.
Yeah, and that's what really he should focus on, because I think once it gets into the later parts of the game, it starts getting very dicey.
Especially he's on the play. He's got to use that. He's got to use that advantage. And I think he's in a huge advantage right now. I think he should. I'm a crazy person, but I think he should Evo one of the 1/1s to get more damage in because he's got 2 wards to protect. I think that whenever you can get an evolution to deal more than 2 damage, you should take it.
Yeah. 1 swing is oftentimes not that useful, but 2 swings, just for whatever reason, the damage is just much more real.
Yeah, I mean, you literally get 4, possibly 6 or more damage out of a single evolution orb, depending on when you do it.
That certainly felt like it would have been the right move. I mean, this would have put kind of some possible combination of Storm.
Yeah, so TEJJY would be at 11. There would be a 3/3 in play right now, so we're talking about 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11 damage. Yeah, he would have won this turn. Just saying. Just saying, guys. Little tiny plays can make huge differences in these games.
Well, now it's a little bit late.
Yeah. It's not like he's in a bad position by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. Do you want to keep that on the board? I don't know if you necessarily want to keep a Luminous.
I don't think you have to. I mean, you can play the Alwita's Command here, and then just do 3-face and evolve over it. Looks like the Marses are the plays. Again, I think he's going a little bit defensively here as opposed to pushing out all aggro. I mean, it's still going to serve him decently well. I feel like he could have, of course, we just did the math. He could have won this turn. but taking a little bit longer to do so. Still so far ahead.
I really like this Geno because it's like a pseudo Shadowcraft last word follower. You know?
Yeah. It's my Bone Chimera, except it hits you for 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's also the Alwitas. So I actually like the way SKYSAMA has set up this board, and he might be on the verge of taking the tournament in a traditional Shadowverse Open fashion.
Yeah.
Defeating the player on the winner's end of the bracket.
It's real. It's real. If you are on the winner's side, you haven't lost anything. You go to the finals, it's time to lose twice.
It's time to lose twice.
Somehow.
TEJJY finding himself in a very, very tough spot. And this value has maintained for SKYSAMA for so long. There's just not a good wide board clear that can help.
Yeah, and this pulling out 1 Rush Follower plus an Evolution Orb, be able to take out the Ward and, you know, the big Mars. But that's not enough.
It's not enough.
Especially with the Alwitas in hand.
There it is. TEJJY playing the Arthur to try to fill out the board and prevent this situation from coming down, but in the end, the Mars can just run in, the Alwitas comes down, and that's going to shut things out and close things off. SKYSAMA becomes the tournament winner, and TEJJY gets 2nd place, and SKYSAMA has done an amazing job.
The only 2-time winner of this season so far, doing it in rotation with Roland and Ginger, and then coming to Unlimited and doing it with Sword, Daria, and Control Blood.
Envy, you were right.